Hello. So welcome to Stella Iordanidi, my account that I'm gonna be doing the education from. And as I mentioned on my stories today we're gonna be discussing 5 fat loss hacks that really work. So before I move any further, just gonna take this picture away. Stop sharing. Okay. So before I move any further with this live, I just want to make sure that we understand the difference between fat loss and weight loss. So weight loss is, as the name says, just losing weight on the scale. And this is not what I focus on this account, and this is not what I focus on with my clients, and this is also not what we should be measuring as progress with regards our fitness goals and our health in general. On the other side, losing fat means, as the name say, that we will be losing some fat at the same time as we build some muscle mass. Now, why is important to lose fat? Because the weight on the scale, unless you are overweight and obese, of course, losing weight is your priority, and until you get into a healthy numbers of your BMI, then we could be focusing on starting to focus more on lose fat. But the general of ladies that I coach, and the general of ladies who are looking to get a more defined physique, so more defined arms, more defined abs, more definition on your body, and better body composition. So better body composition means exactly that, losing fat and building some muscle. And that is exactly what I do with my clients. So more than focusing on losing weight as of weight on the scale, and this is something that I really dig in with my clients, again, taking them away from the obsession of the weight on the scale and getting them to understand different metrics that will help us to understand if we actually are making any progress, such as, for example, feeling that your clothes are getting looser around your waist, feeling that although the weight in the scale hasn't changed much, you just feel your body feels different and your clothes, they just fit different. And then eventually, of course, while we lose fat, we will as well lose some weight on the scale. So now that we understand the difference between what weight loss is and what fat loss is, I'm gonna give you 5 tips or 5 hacks of fat loss that really work. And guess what? No, I'm not gonna tell you about a magic pill. I'm not gonna tell you about drinking apple cider vinegar in the morning. I'm not gonna tell you about using creams that are gonna burn the fat. And I'm not gonna tell you about using fat burners or any of that. If you are believing in those things still, now in 2022, please, I beg you, just scrap that thing away. Stop looking for a band-aid, or stop looking for quick fixes. Nothing worth having comes easy. And also, the key point of fat loss, or the success on any diet, let's say, or the success on any fat loss journey, is the ability for you to actually sustain that fat loss for hopefully the rest of your life. So we're not looking to any quick fixes in here. So again, 5 hacks to fat loss, starting with the number 1, stop snacking. Please stop snacking. This is something that I have to address 1,000 times with my clients. Every time I get a new client and I kind of set them up onto eating bigger meals, full meals, I'm gonna explain this in a second. The first question I ask, what can I snack? What can I have as a snack? Can you have options of snacks? Like, I have that question asked like 1,000 times, and it's okay. It's my job just to explain the reason why we don't need the snacks. Now, if we look at how to optimize the way that our body metabolizes the food that we eat, and also how to optimize the blood sugar levels on the sugar levels on your bloodstream, we should be considering having larger meals, complete meals, yeah? And what does mean a complete meal? A complete meal means a meal that is compounded by a protein source, a carbohydrate source, a fat source, and then greens as much as you want, and then you decide between vegetables or fruits. That is when we say eat the rainbow. If we have this meal, for example, this morning as breakfast, I had 2 eggs, spinach, tomato, 2 slices of bread, and I have tea with that, like coffee with that, yeah? What is it is made of? protein from the eggs and the cheese. Sorry, I forgot to mention about the cheese. I have the greens from the spinach and tomato. I have the carbohydrates from the bread, and I have the fats that comes from the cheese, the butter that I use on the eggs and the eggs itself. So that is already a complete meal. That will take me through until my next meal, which is gonna be my post-workout meal, yeah? Now, if we look to build meals this way, we should be looking at having 3 to 4 meals a day, meaning that maybe one of them you can make it in a way that it might look like a snack. For example, one of my meals is protein oats with some almonds. For me, it's like a dessert, but it still is a complete meal because it has the oats, which is the carbohydrate, it has the protein powder, which I use, then it has the fats from the almonds, and it has the fiber as well from the oats and the almonds, and I add sometimes apple or different sources of fruits, yeah? Now, the importance of having larger and complete meals, it goes beyond the actual meal, but what is the main point of having this? That when we eat, we need to consider that when we eat complete meals, we will be playing in the favor of how our body responds to the insulin that any meal will increase when you eat. So when we eat, there is always an insulin increase, just a response of normal eating, yeah? But when we are having a complete meal, for example, you have a meal with carbs, so your insulin will spike, but then because you have the fats and the protein, this will help the the sugar to release in the bloodstream at a much slower pace, meaning that your insulin will not spike as high. And remember, anything that spikes really high will then drop really low. And when we have those drops of insulin, that is when we feel that need of that crave on having some sugar. I don't know if you have ever experienced that. Maybe you had a plate of pasta, yeah, just pasta, plain pasta. It was a massive plate, you are full, and then an hour later you're just super hungry again. Reason being is because you only had carbs, meaning that you had a massive increase of insulin spike, and then an hour later, because there wasn't any protein or it wasn't any fat in there to help your body to help the metabolism to slow the process of building or breaking this down, you just have a massive crash of insulin, meaning that your body will be needing for more sugar just to stabilize the sugar on your bloodstream. Another simple example, let's say you have a breakfast and then you are mid-afternoon and you're gonna have just an apple. Have you never had the option or the case in which you just had an apple? When you had an apple, which is nothing but with an apple, is a fruit, good, we should have 2 fruits a day or more, but ideally 2. But when you only have the apple, what is happening? The apple is gonna spike your insulin, and then an hour later, you're actually gonna feel a lot hungrier. So you're gonna come to your next meal thinking that you had a snack that is gonna help you to feel less hungry, but in reality, you're just gonna come wanting to eat double the time. And sometimes you might actually feel like you kind of shaking. This happens just because the insulin has raised, and then what happened when the insulin raises? They call the insulin and the cortisol the fat storing hormones. And although it's not that true, I mean, it's not, we shouldn't call them that way. The reason behind they call it that, the reason why they call it like that is because when your insulin or your cortisol spikes, then your the ability of your body to metabolize that insulin is gonna be reduced, meaning that you're gonna increase your insulin sensitivity. And when there is insulin resistance, and when there is insulin resistance, there is a binding process of burning fat. Okay, so very clear. Have larger, thank you Indrek, thank you Carol, have a larger I'm gonna say hi to everyone here, thank you for being here. Have larger meals, 3 to 4 meals a day. 3 meals if you are sedentary or if you don't move much. 4 meals if you are someone like me that is highly active. Okay, let's move into the second one. Have more protein. Have more protein. I don't know how much I have to say this, but because most of my followers are females, normally the majority of, so when I start any client with me, the first month we spend a really, we look very close into what they're eating, and by default or by like 9 out of 10 people of the ladies that come with me, unless they have already been coached with someone else, they come eating very low protein. Very low protein meaning 30 grams of protein a day, 30 to 60 grams protein a day. Now, what is the RDA? RDA means recommended dose, daily allowance, or I forgot, but RDI is that you should have 0.8 to 1.25 grams of protein per pound of your body weight. What does that mean? It means that if, for example, I am 55 kilos and I am highly active, I will be shooting to have the higher end of the protein intake, also because I want to make sure that I'm going to be building a lot of muscle and repairing muscle, because that's the way I train, yeah? That means that if I am 55 kilos, in pounds, I am 120 something, yeah? I will do the maths. But then if you multiply that by 2.2 and then you multiply that for 1.25, which is the high end, that will give me around 140 to 150 grams of protein. Now, having a lot of protein, which is another mistake that people make, is also not ideal, because then protein will, when you have a lot of protein and you don't have enough carbs or enough fiber with it, you will have a lot of digestive issues, yeah? But because this is not the normal average, normally not all the, the normal is that ladies don't, or people in general don't eat enough protein. We will not discuss about having excess of protein. We will just focus on just having more protein. And how you can guarantee that you can have more protein. Going back into the previous step, making sure that every meal that you're gonna build is gonna have a portion of protein. How do you know how much protein you should have in every meal if you don't wanna track macros? Then the portion size of a protein should be the size of your palm. So you're gonna make sure that you're gonna have the size of your palm of chicken, the size of your palm of meat, and the list goes on, because you can just Google sources of protein. There is not just animal protein. Ideally, you want to have animal proteins, because those are the most complete amino acids compounds of proteins, but there is a lot of different proteins options, and if you are vegan, there are different ways that you can play around with the different proteins that you can have in order to make sure that you have a complete amino acid breakdown, okay? However, you should complement with creatine. But anyway, let's move into the third tip, which will be walk. Simple as that. Walk. The reason why we need to walk, two very big reasons. First, people nowadays is becoming more and more sedentary, because obviously we have cars, we work on the desk. Since COVID, there is more and more people working on the desk. This is something as well that I treat with my clients a lot, which is when I actually get to see how much they move in the day. They barely move. And any human being, just for health purposes, just remember that back in the days when we didn't have all the society that we have nowadays, we needed to go out and hunt our food. We needed to go out and look for a place to stay at night, meaning we still are animals, meaning that we are made to move certain amount of distance a day, whether that was for us to survive and find a place to stay or food to eat. We were meant to eat, to move, yeah? That's one of the things. But the most important things to reduce cortisol. So also, there is more and more cases of anxiety increasing because of the rhythm of life that we are living. One of the best things that you can do for you to reduce anxiety and to reduce cortisol is go for a walk. So for example, myself, I do 3 walks a day. I do one in the morning when I wake up, I do one when I go to the gym, and I go one when in the evening or when I come back from the gym, depending on how busy I am. But also sometimes if I'm feeling really overwhelmed, if I feel that I am stuck on something that I'm doing at work, there is nothing better than actually just put everything on the side, go for a 10 minutes walk. You don't need to walk a marathon. You just need to go for the 10 minutes walk. This will just open your mind. The movement will just make you reduce the anxiety, reduce the cortisol, and hopefully you can do this walk outside, because it's proven that when you walk and you see things passing by through your eyes to your peripheral view, that goes to show that activates the parasympathetic nervous system in our brain, or the parasympathetic nervous system, which means that the nervous system that tells our body to rest, like relax, okay? So when we reduce the cortisol, then again, the same as I explained before with the insulin, if the cortisol is down, then our insulin sensitivity improves as well, okay? But mainly also because we want to increase the need. And what is the need? The non-exercise energy thermogenesis, which is not focusing so much on how much calories or how much energy you are burning on your workout, but actually how much you move on the day. That is what is going to make the difference. So if you don't have an opportunity to go for a walk, just notice the opportunities on your days that you can actually be active instead of being sedentary. What that is, if you see a staircase or you have a lift, go upstairs. If you are taking a bus to go to your house, get off the bus 2 stations before and walk to your house. So those are the things that I implement with my clients when they say I'm too busy to walk. And also don't see it as you have to walk to go and do certain amount of steps. Just make those walks intentional. Just give yourself a purpose as to why you are doing those walks. Try it and you will see, you will thank me later, because it definitely will change your life. Now, let's move to the 4th tip, which is strength training. Of course, the strength training. Everyone should be doing strength training. Now, you don't have to strength training 7 days a day. You don't have to strength train at the levels that, for example, I train myself. This is my job and this is what I love doing. So I do it because I want to do it. But anyone aiming to improve health and aiming to improve body composition, losing fat, gaining muscle, should be training strength, should be doing strength training in a progressive overload kind of way. And how much strength training you need to do? The minimum that I recommend is 3 days a day, three times a week, total body workouts, 1 hour long. You don't need more than that, okay? Now, the 5th one, just moving to the last one, will be stop drinking your calories. Stop drinking your calories. That's what I have to say. Stop the sugary drinks. Stop all the healthy drinks like those teas, the aloe vera water, the kombucha, you name it. Even the BCAAs. Did you know, like people say, oh, I need to go to the gym, I'm going to buy BCAAs. First of all, BCAAs, they said that they give you X amount of BCAAs. In reality, they're just giving you 3 BCAAs, from which one is the main one, which is the leucine, which is the one that is going to help you to build some muscle mass. But if you are eating enough protein, going back to the first and the second tip, you should have enough amino acids in there, so you don't need to drink those things. And the thing behind it is that because amino acid is not a macronutrient, so it's not a carbohydrate, it's not a protein, and it's not a fat, they don't tell you how many calories they have, and they can go away with it, but they actually have some calories on that. So people is drinking BCAAs all day because they want to build more muscles, when in reality what they're doing is just spiking the insulin every time you're drinking those BCAAs. And the same goes with the teas, the coffee. Okay, you want to have a coffee or a tea in between your meals, have it, but then try to avoid any milk, try to avoid any sugar with it, because again, yes, if we are doing the complete meals, but in between you having the teas, you're doing the same thing with your insulin. And remember, we don't want to play with the insulin. We want to keep the blood sugar levels in the body in a way that it spikes on every meal, and then you give the time the body needs to metabolize this, which is about 4 to 5 hours, and you don't want to spike that, or you don't want to interrupt that process. And this goes as well with alcoholic drinks. So people goes and focus so much on a very strict diet, and then on the weekend they literally lose track on how many drinks they having. And you know that alcohol is the other macronutrient that we don't speak because it's empty calories. What empty calories means? It means that you are drinking your calories, but they're not giving you any good in terms of, they're not giving you any energy, they're not giving you any help in order to build the muscle and protect the muscle. They're not doing any good to your body. I mean, I know it's good to have a drink every now and then, but I think people abuse too much from alcohol, and you might be sabotaging the results of your fat loss process, not only because of how many calories the alcohol have, but also because of the side effects that you will feel after drinking the alcohol, which will be inability to digest the food. Next day you will be so hungover that your movement will reduce. You will be more likely to then, after a night out of drink, go for a kebab or go for a pizza next day because you're so hungover, your food choices are also going to be affected. So it all goes linked to that. But let's just leave it in that. I'm going to talk about drink alcohol and how it impacts your health and how it impacts your fitness goal in a different life. Here I just want to leave it as, again, 5 tips. I go through it really quickly. First one, eat largest complete meals. Stop snacking. No need to snack. No need to snack. Boom, like that. Second one, eat more protein, 0.8 to 1.25 per pound of your body weight. Third one, walk for your mental health, to reduce cortisol and to increase NEAT. Fourth one, strength training. Everyone should be strength training. If you don't have an instructor, come to me. I can give you one. Fifth one, don't drink your calories. Don't drink your calories. If you want to drink something, drink zero sugar drinks, water, coffee without sugar, teas without sugar, and don't buy anything like healthy smoothie. Healthy, I mean, a smoothie, if you want to have a smoothie, consider that as part of one of your meals. And you want to have the full thing. You don't want to have just the sugar, yeah? No sugar drinks. I hope you have enjoyed this live. See you later. Bye-bye.